Good evening, everyone. I now call to order the December 20th, 2021 regular meeting of the Cinnaminson Township Committee. Everyone please rise and join me in saluting the flag. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is being held in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, Public Law 1975, Chapter 231. Notice of this meeting was published in the Burlington County Times and the Courier Post on January 8th, 2021. Roll call, please, Madam Secretary.
Yes, Mayor. Mr. Condo.
Here.
Mr. Horner.
Here.
Mr. McGill.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Craybill.
Present.
Mayor Seagrass.
I am here.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move right into committee liaison reports. We're going to start with Committee Member Conda with Administration and Health and Senior Services, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This evening, I just want to give a periodic reminder, as I do periodically, that if you're looking for information on Cinnaminson, the newsletter for December is now published, and it's on the Cinnaminson website as well as on our Facebook page. We have our YouTube channel, which you all should feel free to subscribe to. There you get to see the recorded meetings and other township events as they occur. And if you want a little more immediate information, we have the Nixle app that can be loaded to your phone, where when we have to get information out to a lot of people in a reasonably short period of time, we will issue a Nixle alert. And last but not least, on our website and you can download the app. It's GovPilot. If you have any issues with the township, please feel free to address them through GovPilot. The ticket that you create through GovPilot will be routed to the appropriate department and person. And that's really all I have for this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Conda. Committee Member Horner with Finance and Economic Development.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have two items to report on this evening, both pretty important to the Township of Cinnaminson. The first being that last Friday, I am pleased, the committee is pleased to announce that the Township did close with Westrom purchasing the property formerly known as the Azalea Farm. We were going to have groundbreaking today. There were some logistic issues, but we do anticipate scheduling that groundbreaking rather soon. And then the other item, excuse me, I know people have seen some movement at the Triborough site. Today we had an official groundbreaking there as well. Property owner, his family, the township committee, other representatives were there to share in that groundbreaking. And again, just another monumental piece of economic development that the township should be proud of, and in particular this township committee. Mr. Mayor, that concludes my report for this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Horner. Committee Member McGill, anything to report? Public safety?
Let me see if I still have it. I had trouble with my mail. I don't have anything for this meeting.
Okay, all right.
That concludes my report.
No problem. Thank you, sir. Deputy Mayor Crable for Parks, Recreation, and Veterans Affairs.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a brief little wrap up and thank you. 2021 by far has not been a normal year, with still a lot of modification and restrictions still in place. But despite some of our limitations, there have been quite a few events that have been offered throughout the year. I would like to thank the efforts of our Parks and Recreation Committee, as well as the contributions made by our staff and volunteers. I'd also like to thank our sports organizations, coaches, assistant coaches, and parents for continuing to provide such a fantastic community-based sports and activities. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Crable. And then it's on to me for an update on Public Works. I just have a couple items. Public Works Department planted a total of 51 trees throughout the parks in the month of December. And Department of Public Works will be hosting its annual rabies clinic Saturday, January 8th from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. The format will remain the same as last year, as a drive-through to remain proper social distancing. That concludes my report. We're going to move on to open public, ordinance public hearings. I have 1, 2, 3 items. I'll read through them, but Mr. Platt, can you give some detail on, do you want to just start with the first ordinance?
Why don't we do them one at a time, please?
Okay, all right, so ordinance 2021-14, authorizing execution of a financial agreement between the Township of Cinnaminson and LPC Taylor's Lane Urban Renewal Entity, LP, or its designee, for the construction of a warehouse logistic facility on Block 610, Lot 3.01 on the official tax map of the Township of Cinnaminson, pursuant to the long-term tax exemption law, NJSA 40A:20-1.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This ordinance is on for second reading, public hearing, and final adoption. This is the third phase of the CBox project, and this is the largest phase. If you recall, this is a approximate 72-acre site, and the project is to construct a 1,500,000 square foot warehouse, distribution, and logistics facility. This particular item on for action this evening is for a financial agreement between the township and the redeveloper, Urban Renewal Entity, as you described in the ordinance title. Generally speaking, the annual service charge is going to be 10% of revenues from the project, or $1,500,000 each year. It's a 30-year financial agreement, and based upon projections over that 30-year period, the township will net in excess of $26 million more than it would have done over the same period with normal taxation. So it's and as it is a warehouse and distribution facility, there obviously will be no school children, so it is really a win-win-win for the redeveloper, but more importantly for the township and for its residents. So it's a financial agreement that has been reviewed by our staff, our tax assessor, our consultants, and it's ready for second reading and public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Platt. I'd like to now open this up for public comment. May I have a motion to open public comment on ordinance 2021-14, please?
Mr. Mayor, I will make a motion to open public comment on ordinance 2021-14.
Thank you, Mr. Conda. I will second that. Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, abstention, ayes have it. Public comment on ordinance 2021-14 is now open. If you'd like to comment or have a question, please come up to the podium and state your name and address for the record. All right, not seeing anyone come forward, may I have a motion to close the public comment on ordinance 2021-14, please?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to close public comment on ordinance, public reading on ordinance 2021-14.
Thank you, Mr. McGill. May I have a second for that, please?
I'll second.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Crable. Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, abstention, ayes have it. May I have a motion to approve ordinance 2021-14?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2021-14, please.
Thank you, Mr. Horner. May I have a second, please?
Mr. Mayor, I will second that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Conda. Roll call vote, please, Madam Secretary.
Yes, Mayor. Mr. Conda.
Aye.
Mr. Horner.
Aye.
Mr. McGill.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Crable.
Aye.
Mayor Seaver.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're now going to move on to 2021-15, vacating, releasing, and extinguishing any and all public rights to a portion of the paper street known as Union Landing Road, contiguous to Block 307, Lot 2, and Block 307.04, Lot 1.02.
Mayor, this is a ordinance again that's on for second reading and public hearing this evening. It's to vacate what is known as a paper street, portion of Union Landing Road east of Broad. It's approximately 0.6 of an acre in terms of square footage. What will happen if this ordinance is adopted is by law, by operation of law, when you vacate a public street, the parcel gets split between the adjoining property owners, An agreement has been worked out by the adjoining property owners that it will go to one of the adjoining property owners in exchange for a conservation easement, which is embedded into the ordinance. It has been a determination made that this paper street is no longer needed for public use, so it is appropriate to consider this adoption this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Platt. May I have a motion to open up public comment on ordinance 2021-15, please?
Mr. Mayor, I will make a motion to open up public comment on ordinance 2021-15.
Thank you, Mr. Conda. I will second that. Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, abstention, ayes have it. Public comment on ordinance 2021-15 is now open. If you'd like to make a comment or have a question, please step up to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Not seeing anyone come forward, may I have a motion to close the public comment on ordinance 2021-15?
I'll make a motion to close public comment on ordinance 2021-15.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Crable. I will second that as well. Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, abstention, ayes have it. May I have a motion to approve ordinance 2021-15?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 2021-15.
Thank you, Mr. McGill. May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Crable. Roll call vote, please, Madam Secretary.
Yes, Mayor. Mr. Conda.
Aye.
Mr. Horner.
Aye.
Mr. McGill.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Crable.
Aye.
Mayor Seacrest.
Aye.
Thank you.
Now we move on to 2021-16, authorizing and approving acquisition of certain real property located at 305 and 307 US Route 130, also known as 1403 lots 25.
I thought that should be 25 and 26.
That's what I thought. I was going to stop there. Okay, 25, lots 25 and 26. Mr. Platt, could you please give some detail?
Thank you, Mayor. This is again, a second reading and public hearing on an ordinance to acquire these properties that are listed. These properties were part of a area in need of redevelopment designation in 2013 by the governing body, Township Committee, back in 2013. This is part of the redevelopment process for these two parcels. We have previously, and you'll see some items on the agenda later on, previously entered into a memorandum of understanding with a conditional redeveloper to develop that parcel, those parcels along with two other parcels. This gives the township the authorization to move forward and to acquire, in the first place, to try to acquire these properties voluntarily by voluntary acquisition for fair market value, and if necessary, the township can exercise, as was authorized by the 2013 designation, eminent domain. And again, it's appropriate for consideration at tonight's meeting.
Thank you again, Mr. Platt. May I have a motion to open public comment on ordinance 2021-16?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to open public hearing on ordinance 2021-16.
Thank you, Mr. McGill. I will second that. Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, abstention, ayes have it. Public comment on ordinance 2021-16 is now open. If you have a question, you'd like to make a comment, please step up to the podium and state your name and address for the record. Not seeing anyone come forward. May I have a motion to close the public comment on ordinance 2021-16, please?
I'll make a motion to close public comment on 2021-16.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Crable. I will second that as well. Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, abstention, ayes have it. May I have a motion to approve ordinance 2021-16, please?
Mr. Mayor, I will make a motion to approve 2021-16.
Thank you, Mr. Horner. May I have a second, please?
Mr. Mayor, I will second that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Conda. Madam Secretary, roll call vote, please.
Yes, Mayor. Mr. Conda.
Aye.
Mr. Horner.
Aye.
Mr. McGill.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Crable.
Aye.
Mayor Seacrest.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now going to move on to the consent agenda. As always, Mr. Schubager, could you give some detail on the items on the consent agenda tonight?
Sure, Mayor. There were 5 resolutions on the consent agenda tonight, and I'm going to tackle the first 2, and then Township Solicitor, Mr. Platt here, is going to tackle the remainder. So If we move on to Resolution 166, that's a cancellation of taxes for Block 423, Lot 14. That recommendation comes from our tax collector, Sandy Root, to cancel those taxes because that property is now a municipally owned property, which came to fruition through a foreclosure process that recently was undertaken. And then Resolution 168 is the authorization of an agreement to participate in the Defense Logistics Agency Law Enforcement Support Office, otherwise known as LISO program. That recommendation comes from Chief Calabrese. It's an extension of this agreement. This program enables the township to obtain free equipment and supplies from the Department of Defense. It doesn't bind us to any specific arrangements with the Department of Defense or their equipment, but it gives us the ability to do so. I know the police department on occasion has taken advantage of this program. The chief has found it to be a very good program for the township to participate in and recommends that we extend that agreement. And then starting off with Resolution 165, Mr. Platt, I'm going to kick it back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Schubiger. For the mayor and committee and the public, Resolution 165 is authorizing a redevelopment agreement with Delco Development LLC. That is in connection with the Ordinance 2021-16. This allows myself and other staff and professionals to begin the negotiation process with the redeveloper. As is indicated previously, they were appointed as a conditional redeveloper through the memorandum of understanding. The redevelopment agreement is the next logical step in the process that will formally bind them to this redevelopment project. Resolution 167 is the renewal of the affordable housing contract with Triad Associates. Triad Associates, through the RFP process, has submitted, and the proposal's on for this evening for your consideration to approve them as the affordable housing administrator. And that is part of our affordable housing plan that's been approved at the court. And they handle all of the details of the units in terms of affordable marketing, affirmative marketing for affordable households. They handle the qualifications for individuals and families to meet the income and rent qualifications for the units, and do a lot of other things as well. It's a necessary component to our affordable housing plan. And then finally, Resolution 169, that goes hand in hand with Ordinance 14. That is the approval of the application of the urban renewal entity for the ordinance approving the Box Park Logistics financial agreement. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Platt. Thank you, Mr. Schubiger. May I have a motion to open up public comment on the consent agenda items only, please?
I'll make a motion to open up public comment on the consent agenda items only.
Thank you, Mr. Conda. I will second that. Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, abstention, ayes have it. Public comment on the consent agenda is now open. If you'd like to make a comment, please step up at the podium and state your name and address for the record. Not seeing anyone come forward. May I have a motion to close the public comment on the consent agenda items?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to close public comment on the consent agenda.
Thank you, Mr. McGill. I will second that. A voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, abstention, ayes have it. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda items.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Crable. May I have a second, please?
Mr. Mayor, I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. Horner. Roll call vote, please, Madam Secretary.
Yes, Mayor. Mr. Conda.
Aye.
Mr. Horner.
Aye.
Mr. McGill.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Crable.
Aye.
Mayor Seaver.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're now going to move on to the approval of the minutes from December 6, 2021. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of December 6, 2021, please?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from December 6, 2021.
Thank you, Mr. McGill. May I have a second, please?
Mr. Mayor, I will second that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Conda. Madam Secretary, roll call vote?
Yes, thank you. Mr. Conda.
Aye.
Mr. Horner.
Aye.
Mr. McGill.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Crable.
Aye.
Mayor Seaver.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're now going to move on to the approval of the bills. May I have a motion to approve the bill list, please?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the bill list.
Thank you, Mr. McGill. May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Crable. Madam Secretary, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Kondo.
Aye.
Mr. Horner.
Aye.
Mr. McGill.
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Crable.
Aye.
Mayor Seeger.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now going to move on to staff and professional comments. Are there any comments from the staff or professionals tonight?
Mayor, I appreciate a little bit of time. Thank you.
Yes, sir, Mr. Struble.
It is our last regular public meeting of 2021. And I just want to say to so many people, starting with the Township Committee up here, to thank them, number one, for their continued vision on making Cinnaminson as great as it is and to be even better than it is. Tonight on the agenda, we had a number of items to address legislatively. I think it symbolizes the hard work that this Township Committee has really done and continues to do with economic development, number one. These projects do so much for our community, starting with, in some cases, taking some either vacant or blighted or both former properties, blighted and vacant, and redeveloping them into projects that we can be proud of. They improved the streetscape in many cases, our Route 130 business corridor, which is so important to the vitality of the community. They contribute greatly to the rateable base, which helps stabilize taxes, which this township continues to do for several years. And these projects will help us continue to do that for several more. And they also grow our business community. And the balance of our business community with our residents is just so important. And I know it's a big part of the vision of this committee. And they're doing a great job with trying to find that balance. And we're going to continue to do that. You know, last year, probably at this very same time, I spoke about sort of getting through COVID. I misspoke because in some respects we're still dealing with it, and it's impacted the economy, it's impacted our services. Our professional staff, some of them are here tonight, have continued to do such a great job in as Committee Member McGill would say, doing their duty. We appreciate it. I know I do. I'm sorry. I'm one of them. We're a team, and I'm proud to be part of that team. You know, it's still impacting so many different aspects of life and local government. Perhaps most importantly, I just want to say thanks to our residents because they do a number of things for us. They hold us accountable, which is so important. We take that seriously. But they also realize that there are a lot of factors right now impacting services. And maybe some things are not quite working as optimally as we'd like them to. But their patience and understanding is really cherished by all the staff. We do appreciate it. You realize that we're doing as much as we can through these times, and with sometimes resources that are hampered. So thank you to the residents. We'll continue to do our best for you, and we appreciate you working with us. So to everybody, have a great happy holiday season. Not happy, but happy. And
Happy to.
yeah. Mayor, that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Maybe Hoppy as well.
Mayor, if I could just, it's a tough act to follow, but he always is. I just want to thank Mayor and committee for again giving me the opportunity to be your solicitor this year. As I said to you a couple of years ago, it's kind of tough to motivate me these days, and Cinnaminson motivates me. All these projects on here tonight, we've done all year long. It's really testament to everybody up here, Mayor, committee, Eric, Lisa, Julia, your entire staff, Mike Minton, everybody. A lot of these projects were kind of stalled for a number of years before you folks got onto committee, and you've moved these ahead, and we've done it in a way that's very transparent and is going to benefit the residents and the community for a long, long time. So I much appreciate that, and I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a happy and a healthy, most importantly, healthy New Year. So thank you, Mayor and committee.
Thank you both. Thank you both for your comments. We're now going to move on to public comment. May I have a motion to open up public comment, please?
Mayor, go ahead.
So, Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to open up public comment.
Thank you, Mr. Conda. May I have a second, please?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mr. McGill. Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, abstention, ayes have it. Public comment is now open. If you'd like to make a comment or ask a question, please come up to the podium, state your name and address for the record. All right. Not seeing anyone come forward. May I have a motion to close public comment, please?
I'll make a motion, Mr. Mayor, to close public comment.
Thank you, Mr. McGill. May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Crable. Voice vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Nays, abstention, ayes have it. We're now going to move on to committee comment, and as always, I have to refer back to my cheat sheet of who goes first. We go in this order: Mr. Conda, Mr. Horner, Mr. McGill, Deputy Mayor Crable, and then myself. Mr. Conda, do you have any additional comments this evening?
I do, thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I would like to thank both you and Deputy Mayor Crable. This year was not an ordinary year, although we thought it might be. You guys have done a great job as mayor and deputy, and I think everyone up here and the residents appreciate the work that was done, so I wanted to thank you for that. I also wanted to take a second to thank a few people for some of the economic development gains, namely Mr. Minton in the back of the room, Mr. Shoebigger, Mr. Platt, and the gentleman to my right, Mr. Horner, who have worked tirelessly to bring some of these economic development deals across the line, and they benefit everybody in Cinnaminson. And I just wanted to let everyone know that I appreciate that immensely. And lastly, I would like to echo the prior comments for a happy and healthy holiday season and a happy new year. And that is all I have this evening.
Good job, Eric. Good job, Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Conda. Mr. Horner, any additional comments from you this evening?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's always tough when Administrator Shoebigger makes a comment because he pretty much takes care of everything. That's a testament to just how thorough he is at his job, as well as being a wordsmith. But yeah, so Mr. Mayor, I'd like to thank you for your leadership throughout this year, Deputy Mayor Crable as well. This entire township committee has a lot to be proud of. We've done a lot of great things this year, and I know that that's going to continue. Mr. Shoebigger, Mr. Platt, your advice and guidance to pull these things across the finish line, particularly with the economic development, as my colleague Mr. Conda said, we could not have done that without the two of you. And of course, the unsung hero who stands in the back of the room every single meeting, who does not want any of the spotlight ever, deserves a tremendous amount of credit, and that's the Economic Development Coordinator, Mike Mitten. He does a fantastic job.
Golf clap. Golf clap.
So with that said, happy holiday season and a happy and healthy new year. And Mr. Mayor, that concludes my report and comment.
Thank you, Mr. Horner.
Nice jacket, by the way, Commissioner.
You can keep that jacket, right?
Mr. McGill?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did find my activity report, so let me just do that really quick. For the month of November, total incidents responded to was 2051, total arrests made 23, total number of property checks 653, total motor vehicle stops 244, total motor vehicle summonses issued 176, and last but not least, total DWI arrests were 7. Also, I would like to echo the comments made by Mr. Shoebigger and Mr. Platt and the rest of my committee so far. I know Eric stole my thunder about duty, but I do appreciate, and I tell these guys every month, and you know, we laugh about it, but I do appreciate the job that our administrator and all of our professionals, including our solicitor, our economic development coordinator, our police department, our public works department, our fire department. I do appreciate our staff up here, Lisa and Julia. Without these people, especially with the Omicron, Delta, or whatever variant we are, Alpha, Beta, whatever, these guys have keep this township running and running smoothly, and they continue to do their duty, and I do appreciate it. And I'm sure the residents appreciate it also. Also, I'd like to thank the residents of this town, like Eric said, that without you guys, we wouldn't be here. And you guys are an integral part of what we do, how we govern, and I do appreciate it. Last but not least, to my fellow colleagues up here, I appreciate everything you guys do. Mr. Mayor, great year. Deputy Mayor, great year. You guys everything was been fantastic. I would like to also say, everyone please have a healthy and happy Christmas and a happy and healthy New Year. And we'll see you in 2022. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McGill. Deputy Mayor Crable, any comments from you tonight?
I apologize for the redundancy. It happens when you go fourth. I just wanted to once again thank our staff, our professionals, and our outstanding, if I do say so, committee for going above and beyond in everything that they've done this year. I would also like to extend to our residents a very happy holiday and a bright and healthy new year. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Crable. So in an effort to not be redundant, I will thank everyone up here, all of our professional staff for a great year, even going through what's been going on in the news with the pandemic, 'cause it has been difficult. But from my family, from our families, to all of you, have the happiest and safest, keyword, safest, holiday season, and Happy New Year as well. Thank you. That concludes my report. All right. I think this is it. Now we're going to adjourn the meeting. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Mr. Mayor, I would love to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, Mr. McGill. May I have a second, please?
Mr. Mayor, I will second that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Conda. Voice vote, all in favor? Aye.
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 Nays, abstention? Ayes have it. The meeting is now adjourned. The next meeting will be held Thursday to close out the year, December 30th, 2021, at 10:30 a.m. This is going to be a Zoom meeting for everyone that would like to attend. Thank you, everyone. Have a great evening.
Thank you.